So, Anthony, yesterday we were at the Hard Rock in New York, and today we're in two different hotels in two different states. How fun is that?
I'm in Boston. Where are you?
I'm on Long Island, but today we're going to be talking to people from the West Coast.
I'm Anthony. Welcome to No Vacancy Live. That's my friend Glenn.
You're watching the #1 show in hospitality.
Hey, everybody, Glenn Hausman here, and that is Anthony Melchiori, and I'm adjusting my mic, hopefully, to make our producer happier with my volume. How are you, Anthony?
Good. How's my volume?
Your volume is always more than enough for me. I hear your voice no matter what, if you're speaking or not, ringing in my head.
So yesterday was I really enjoyed that podcast with David over at
Hard Rock, New York, right in Times Square. Yeah.
It was fun.
Yeah, it certainly was. We had a great time. Make sure you check that episode out. Now, Anthony, last week, I think it was last week, we had on the incredible GM from the Pendry Sagamore in Baltimore, which was absolutely fantastic. And their parent company is Montage, so we're going to kind of do a little combination of Montage and Pendry because we have an amazing leader here today. And of course, I'm talking about Mary Rogers, managing director of the Montage Laguna Beach and area general manager for Montage Healdsburg and the Pendry Diego. Love that, Pendry San Diego. Mary, how are you today?
Good morning, Glenn. Good morning. Thank you for having me on. Good morning, Anthony. Thank you so much. I'm delighted to be here. I'm doing really great.
Great.
Thank you. So he said you're an extraordinary leader. Prove it.
Yeah, that's right, Mary. That's why you come on to No Vacancy Live. Get those hard-hitting questions that really make you think. We love to make our guests feel comfortable over here as well.
That's a massive compliment, Glenn. Thank you, Anthony. Yes, I have been a general manager at Montage International for almost 3 years. It's been an amazing journey with them, and certainly really have focused very much on associate engagement, which has increased tremendously since I joined our wonderful hotel in Laguna Beach. So yeah.
Well, I am sure you are a wonderful leader. And before we get into all of Glenn's questions, he's always going to ask you about the hotel and all the things that happen in a hotel from a business standpoint. I like to know when you started in the business and when was the first moment you was like, I got to be in this business for the rest of my life.
That's a great question, Anthony. So I got a part-time job when I was 13 years old. I grew up on a farm in the west of Ireland, and my parents, if they told me I wanted to get my own money, they said, go get a job. So at 13, for 5 summers, I worked in a small bed and breakfast with this little old lady that ran an 8-bedroom bed and breakfast in a coastal town where I'm from. And when I was about to go to college, didn't know what to study. And she told me that I should go into hotel management because I was really good with people. I thought she was a little crazy to suggest hotel management, but guess what? Here we are. I went to college for hospitality, and right after school joined the Ritz-Carlton Hotel Company. That was about 24 years ago. So yeah, that's when I knew, working in that bed and breakfast in my hometown, that I wanted to be in hotels.
Okay, so tell me how you go from college to get recruited to Ritz-Carlton, because coming out of college, I mean, they have a pretty intense recruitment, and you've got to be a pretty strong student and pretty good to get into that program. So tell me about that.
That's right. Most of the hotels came to the hospitality schools in Europe. Like they all came, Four Seasons came, Ritz-Carlton came. But we actually studied, we had done a case study on Ritz-Carlton. And they had claimed all about, the ladies and gentlemen serving the ladies and gentlemen. And I said, well, if I'm going to go work in this industry, which is a pretty notoriously difficult industry to work in, I said, I want to work for Ritz-Carlton. So they came to our school, and they interviewed about 72 of us, and they selected 3 of us to join the program. And funny story, when they told me that I was going to be a front desk agent with them, they told me that I was going to be in Tyson's Corner. And I said, oh, wow, that's amazing. I'm so excited.
Where's Tyson's Corner is in Virginia, for folks that don't know. Go on.
Yeah. And I asked the same question.
When you said you're going to be in Tyson's Corner, I was like, wow, Mike Tyson has a fight this week?
Right. And then I was like, that's great. Where's Tyson's Corner? And they said, well, that's in Virginia. And I said, wow, that's amazing. Where's Virginia? I didn't even know where it was. And so they were like, well, that's near DC. I said, perfect. I've heard of DC. Let's
Yep.
go. So off I went, 2 suitcases right after college. And that was 24 years ago.
But see, the reason I asked, because, we're doing a new show called Hotel All Stars Making the Cut, trying to get people interested in our business
Right.
and in the hospitality business. And you don't go to Ritz-Carlton out of school unless you're a top student, you work really hard, your I's are dotted, your T's are crossed, you show up in the interview, you look somebody in the eye, you shake their hand, you're personable, you're wearing the right suit, you're just presenting yourself in the best way possible. And that's why I want people to hear that, because 3 out of 72, you're very, they're very lucky to have you, because that means you're a high performer. And that's true, because look where you are.
Right, thank you. Yeah, but those 3, the other 2 ladies, they're still in the industry. One of them's a general manager with the Ritz-Carlton in Portland, and the other lady is a director of residences. So yeah,
Wow.
it's not an easy program to get into, but certainly one, if you can get into it, it's a great gateway.
Right. So since we're on this particular topic, Mary, I happen to be here. The reason why I'm at this particular hotel today is I'm a board member of the Long Island Hospitality Association. We had a meeting this morning, and one of the issues that came up, again, was trying to get people excited about the hospitality industry. How are you trying to get people excited about the hospitality industry in the way that you were?
Yeah, I mean, I always tell people that it is an exceptional industry as relates. There's no 2 days the same. You're never
That's
going to
right.
be bored. Absolutely, and also it is an exceptional gateway to see the world. I mean, you can travel anywhere in the world. You can, as an
Tyson's
employee.
Corner, enough said.
I mean, but also as an employee of these big companies, or some of the larger companies, even Montage, you can get to travel with any of our hotels, stay with the employee rate, and you get to see our beautiful parts of the world that are unique and really beautiful, and it really opens you to travel and to other experiences and cultures. And again, like I said, there's no 2 days the same. Every single is a new adventure. You're never bored, and you can really truly grow. I mean, you can start at a line level, entry level, and make your way up to be a managing director, just as I did. I was started as a front office agent, and the rest is history. So it really is a wonderful industry where you can grow, and there's a lot of variety every single day, which is wonderful.
So let me ask you a question that I don't think I've ever asked before. I don't even think I've ever thought about before, but it's interesting in the sense, in talking to you, you came out of school and you were a rocket ship, and you continue to be the rocket ship. We get people at the front desk, and they have to show up as a shining star because it's so challenging, wonderful, tremendous opportunities every day, right? So it's hard to get a young person like yourself coming out of school that's that rocket ship. So, like, what do you see when you, of course, in your hotel, you kind of have the pick of the litter, in the sense the pick of the litter is kind of not great anymore, because it used to be that in a hotel like yours, you had the best of the best. Now there's not a lot of people to choose from. So, like, do you find people that really are interested in, oh, this is a great career, but they just don't have that DNA that you and I have, and that it takes to, as I say, dig the dishes all day long?
Yeah, I mean, I think the front desk is it's a really good place to start to find those next superstars. And what I always look for is that somebody has an exceptional attitude, positive even when everyone else is negative. Obviously is able to handle many situations, and then from there, really, like you said, stand out. And what I do then, if I see someone, I watch them a lot, and then if I see those front desk agents and they really are those superstars, then we encourage them. There's growth opportunity. Let's go to the reservations department. Let's go to the sales department and take off from there. But you know what? A lot of them come in because they think it's a job, but then you've got to show them that there's other avenues for them to go based on their exceptional work or their great attitude or how they handle situations. So it's definitely just watching those associates and encouraging them to stay in the because they might not have thought about it before, but then showing them that you can start as a front desk agent and work up to many other areas of the hotel.
Isn't it great when you see that shining star?
Mm-hmm.
You probably still get nervous, right? Like, I see a shining star and I get nervous. I'm like, oh, I hope we don't mess this up. I really like this person.
Right, exactly. And you want to find the right home for them. Maybe it's, like I said, maybe it's reservations, maybe it's the sales department, maybe it's the spa. And we do that all the time. And from front desk, that's really where I watch a lot of our associates grow, which is really exciting.
What
Yeah.
was your second job after the front desk? I'm sorry.
I went
Oh, good.
I went to, actually it's funny, I went to, from front desk, I used to watch the ladies in sales and convention services. I was wearing a uniform. They all had
Yep.
their own clothes on. They used to walk around with the
Right.
portfolios. I always thought all they did is meet customers and have afternoon tea. And I was like, that's what I want to do. That's what I want to do. So I went to the director of catering convention services and I told her that I wanted to work in her department. And she said, that's wonderful. Just you have to do this training program, because she's like, everyone has always come to me about that, and then you have to get up early, you have to go to work in the banquet department, you have to go work with the houseman, you have to go to the kitchen. So I took the training plan and I did it, and I came back to her 6 weeks later and I said, I've done all these departments, and she's like, you did? And I was like, yeah, I did it before work, after work, whatever it was. And she's like, no one has ever done this. I've always given this to people and they've never done it. And I said, well, I did it. And she goes, well, okay, well, the next opening we have in group reservations, actually, because she was overseeing group reservations also. And I got the job in group reservations, and from group reservations, I went to catering. Then I went to convention services, and then I went on to do catering convention services for most of my career before I went into.
So are you telling us it wasn't an accident that you're in this prestigious job?
No, not at all. It was
Right, it was an accident that Anthony and I got this job. So we like to check in with our guests.
No, but like that, like again, I the reason I go back to your early career, because I think it's really important. Being at the top of your class, getting selected, and then her giving you a task that she knows you're not going to do, and then you do it. It's do a little more, you go a lot further. What did it take for you to do that? It took a little bit more time. It took 6 weeks out of your life. Maybe you didn't go out as much. Maybe you didn't sleep as much. But those 6 weeks set you up for the rest of your life.
Right. And I remember the banquet chef. I said, I wanted to work with the banquet chef. And he was a really tough guy. And he said, okay, I'll meet you. Come in at 4:30 in the morning and make all the eggs for breakfast. And I was like, okay. And again, he did not think I was going to do it. But 4:30, I'm making all the scrambled eggs for the banquet buffet. And then the housemen, they were also super early. They were like, well, we'll meet you at like 5:30 because we have to be ready for 7 o'clock setups. And I was like, okay, I'll see you at 5:30. But I did it before my shift, after my shift, whatever it took.
And you were probably the earliest one in each department.
Yeah. And I did it, like you said, I did it before, after work, whenever I could fit it in, while I was still a front desk agent.
Now, this is encouraging to hear, but it also concerns me because Anthony, because we keep having these conversations about younger generation that doesn't seem to have the interest or energy to get up and do that sort of thing. One particular example you were mentioning is, will that person call in that day when you didn't think they should call in that day, right? So I'm wondering how much harder it must be, because like Anthony said, those diamonds, to find that those people that really have it, that are really that live it, breathe it, want to do it 24 hours a day.
Before Mary answers, I just want to say this. I think, and you correct me if I'm wrong, there's a smaller pool, especially when I grew up. Right? I grew up in 1990, till now in this industry. And there were more people to choose from, but there were not that many superstars. Right. I think there's less people to choose from, and there's not that many superstars. So percentage-wise, I would say you still have the same percentage of superstars. You just have a smaller pool to choose from.
You just have to find them. They're out there. They are there. You just really have to hone in on them. And that's what I do. I go around that resort and I find the amazing hostess, the great front desk agent. And then you really got to develop them, and you got to make them feel like they can stay in this industry, because you're right. It's hard, but they're there. You just need to really find them.
Now, Mary, you've been taking a keen interest on bringing other women along with you as well, which is important. And before we get into that, I just want to say I saw the coolest post on LinkedIn this morning. This amazing woman who's doing a panel at the upcoming lodging conference, and she was talking about how the majority of people on the panel are women, and they don't actually have to discuss being women. It's just going to be an issue of hospitality. Now, for me, that excited me too, because I'd like to get to that place where we could just worry about being professionals as opposed to having the subcategories, right? So that was exciting. We're moving forward in that sense, and you're helping on the property level give women the ability, the thoughts, the desire to move forward, and the keys to find that success as well.
Absolutely. One of my goals, actually, it's going to happen one day. One of my actual goals is to have an all-female executive team. But that's
That's
actually,
awesome.
yes, I'm working on it. Today, I have an executive team of 10 amazing leaders, and 70% of us are, the 7 out of 10 of us are female, which is
Well,
really
Hmm.
exciting.
well,
And
Lisa Perlow, who's the president, was the
oh,
president of
yeah,
Celebrity Cruise Line.
she's
You know
amazing.
Lisa?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I heard her speak at Forbes Travel Guide this year, and she was exceptional.
Yeah, I was there. I was there with her. I was the crazy guy stalking her and hugging her,
Yeah,
and
she's a
she's my hero. She just wrote a book, and I had the privilege of reading it before she printed it. And it's going to make you cry, laugh, and say, "Wow, what a badass!" But my point being, in talking about Lisa, she had the first, as you know, if you know Lisa, the first female crew
yeah.
on a cruise ship, and like she in her book, she says that was her legacy.
I mean, she was, yeah. I mean, it's amazing, and I'm going to do it. I will do it. I've even found the female engineer, so I will do it one day when I open a hotel here. I will make it happen. But at the Montage in Laguna Beach, 70% of our executive team are female, and
Yep.
obviously we continue to develop all of our leaders. My former director of sales and marketing, who was in her job for 5 years, I just promoted her to a hotel manager. I'm going to continue to really focus on that, and we started a new initiative this year called Ladies Leading the Way, where once a
Hmm.
quarter I speak to all of our associates, males, females. I did a panel with the female leaders. I bring in guest speakers, and really just for Montage International, honing in on all the exceptional female leaders that we have, and we'll continue to
Hmm.
grow this in this space. We need more female GMs, which we're going to do, and we're going to create. I'm going to lead the way to create more amazing female GMs.
That's
Right.
awesome. Now, I'm happy I remembered this, but I'm sad it's so uncommon that I remembered this. But when the Cromwell in Las Vegas opened in 2014, they had an all-female executive team. I can't
Yeah.
imagine they're all still there now, 9 years later. But back in 2014, I mean, that was like cover story type of
Right.
stuff, and it was great to see. And Caesars in general, I think, has done a good job at moving women along in their career. So it's great to see that this is happening all over, particularly at the highest levels of hospitality, like you're serving up over there at the Montage.
Yeah, and I think from my perspective, where I sit,
Yeah.
anytime I had a team, it always seemed that I had more female executives than male executives. And it wasn't, I didn't do it on purpose. I didn't have a mission to have all executives females. But what I found is that the executives I had were concerned about the work, were concerned about being fair, and were concerned about being treated fairly. Not look at me, look what I'm doing, look at the trophy I'm holding. Typically, when I have a lot of men on my executive team, it seems like every time they do something, they want to hold up a trophy. I'm one of those guys. Like I do something, like look at me. And so when I
You
have
should see my mom's fridge with all of my
like I
stuff
can't.
on it.
I've never had an executive, a female executive that I could outwork, and I
Right.
thought I could outwork everybody. But like most of the executives I've had that have been female have just outworked me.
Yeah, and they're highly productive too, which is a great thing. They have a lot of them have a lot of families and children right after work, so they make their day highly productive. So then I think that's also another added benefit of females. They do work very hard,
Yeah.
Right.
very
So,
dedicated.
so how are you actually ensuring this? Are you trying to mentor specific women within the organization? What is the overall plan for you?
Well, yeah, that's exactly right. I'm mentoring. I actually select a number of females. I have a resort manager in my property up in Healdsburg. We have,
Hmm.
just like we did when we look at the talent in the front desk, for example, you look at that females that are highly talented,
Yep.
and then you mentor them. I have calls with them on a quarterly basis, inviting them to different events, or exposing them to meetings that they haven't been to, etc.
Hmm.
Just inviting them along, including them so that they're learning and growing, which is really huge. And
Right.
then
And,
Oh,
making sure that they know the opportunities that are available to them.
that's a
and
really
before,
great point, Anthony. Just the whole idea of including people, just to be in the room to
Right.
observe and see what happens, and that opens up possibilities.
Yeah, I
so
always used to ask. I was always fortunate that I always was like, hey, can I go to that revenue meeting, or can
Hmm.
I go to that owners meeting? But sometimes people don't necessarily think like that. So what I do is I make a very conscious effort to say, you have not been to our owners meeting, come join us so you can see what it's like. Sit in the room, observe, and learn.
Hmm.
and that was kind of my next question. is it seems to me that a man, okay, and I don't want to generalize here because I'm sure you
Right.
have superstar men that you put just as much time into. So I don't want to make this women centric. It's like, you discount the men. It's like, I'm sure you put just as much time into men. However, it seems to me, from my perspective, men will ask that question. And it seems that the female will have a little bit more difficult asking the question. Is that true or not true?
I would agree with that, Anthony, 100%. Therefore, my effort is to get ahead of that and include them and make sure that they okay to ask and make sure that they ask those questions. One of the points that I always tell everyone, you have to make the ask. A man, I feel, will naturally ask for more money
Hmm.
or more
Yes.
more benefits. And I always say, I always encourage everyone, but certainly
Right.
the ladies, to make the ask. If you don't make the ask, you're not gonna. It's gonna be an automatic no anyway. So just make the ask.
That's a really good point. That's been proven through studies that women don't ask for as much
Right.
money, and inherent unconscious and conscious biases make it so women wind up being paid more in those
Right.
circumstances, and other, potentially misogynistic attitudes that are out there. But Mary, you're running three different properties. That's kind of crazy. How are you doing all of that and making sure that the next generation of leaders are learning?
It's a wonderful, as an area general manager, you're really a mentor or a guide or
Hmm.
an additional assistance to the general manager. So on a weekly basis, I meet. The great thing now with Zoom and with Teams, you can actually meet without
Ah,
having to go to the properties. So once a week, I spend time with the general manager. We follow up on items that we're working on. How do I encourage them? What do they need help with? Do they need any assistance from any of their planning or anything like that? And then the one about once a quarter, I'll get to each property. I mean, San Diego is easy; it's an hour down the street,
yeah,
and then I just take our flight once a quarter up to Healdsburg and make sure that Alan and the team and everyone there are doing a great job. But yeah, it's more of a support mentor, really an extra
that's
set of hands
fantastic.
for that general manager. Yes.
It says a lot, about the firstmans and their desire to make people
Wow.
succeed within the company. Because I don't hear that a lot, right? You're there in that
Right.
mentor role, as opposed to what I would see as I'm in charge. I'm the boss. You got to listen to me, kind of
Yeah,
a
like
role.
like our general manager in San Diego is new to his role. He was the hotel manager there for many years. We
Hmm.
promoted him into general manager role, and you're right. Mr. Freshman is very very eager to ensure that he's successful, but
Yeah,
knows that in my area role that I'll obviously be there with him. And every single Monday we sit down, we go through a bunch of stuff, answer any questions he has, and we want to make sure that he's highly successful in his role.
It's interesting. I'm doing consulting for a company, and I come up to Boston about once a month. And the program we're going to lay out is basically that. I'm going to help them just be in a supportive role. They can call me anytime they want. It's not. I'm not going to call them. They can call me, and we're putting it together now. And now, when you have high performers, when you have people that don't need to be motivated because they're self-motivated, they just need a phone a friend. That's what
Right.
they need. When you're over managing someone like you or someone like me, you kill our spirit. Like, we got it. I always talk about the word done. It's done. I got it. If I need you, I'll call you. If you want to come see me once a month, you want to call me once a month, great. But I need phone a friend. I don't need someone to tell me how to do my job.
Right. It is. It's a great program, and it's really wonderful for the other GMs also to have that extra person that they can phone a friend, like you said. It's a great
right. And
program.
let me add, this also makes really smart business sense because your company is really growing in a very nice way. And it's almost like, let's do great for the environment, but we're also being selfish because you need to have leaders for all these hotels that are going to be opening in the future as well. And you don't want to lose them to some of the major companies that you may have come from, for example.
Yeah, no, it's a great program, and certainly that's another point is focusing on the hotel managers also, making sure that they're all ready for the next. Like you said, Glenn, we're
Hmm.
opening another 10 hotels in the next, 4 or 5 years. We want to make sure our GMs are homegrown and know the company, know the culture, and know what Mr. Freshman's vision was when he created the company 20 years ago. So yeah, really focusing on the hotel, the layer below us too, and making sure we're including them and developing them. It's huge.
And the communication, as you're talking about, is vital because, Glenn, in
Hmm.
places we don't talk about, there's people, executive search firms calling people every day,
All the time.
Hmm.
especially people like Mary and her team, because they're exceptional. They're at the top of their game. They have some billionaire somewhere is opening a 5-star hotel in one of the A-list cities, and they're trying to pick them off. So if you're not taking care of your people, someone else will.
Absolutely. And you're right, Anthony. Every day, those recruiters are getting more and more aggressive, and rightly so, because the talent is
Right.
it's hard to come by. But certainly, I agree with you. You got to make sure they're engaged, because otherwise, someone will definitely take them up, because there's a lot of openings in the future.
Right. And before, where they would go somewhere for a couple of dollars more, now it's a significant amount more, just because, like you said, it's so difficult to attract really good talent. Because a lot of good talent left the industry to work in hotel adjacent type of businesses.
I know it is, and it is. It's getting harder and harder, but making sure that people know what the future is and that they're engaged and what their development path is and what our plans are for them is hugely important. Like you said, you got to
I ask Glenn for
communicate.
I ask Glenn for my development plan all the time, and he hasn't given me one yet.
Well, when you prove you're ready to develop, we'll get to that point.
Oh my God, that's hilarious.
But Mary, speaking about, again, developing people, you also have to develop the programs and stuff within the hotel, right? In order to see where the people are going. Where are the consumers going these days? What do they really want? And how are you accommodating the change, that change, to make sure the staff is ready to create those memorable experiences?
Well, I mean, the great thing about Montage, and anyone that stays in any of our hotels knows that service is our number one focus. So making sure that the guest, obviously everyone wants wonderful experiences, exceptional food and beverage, great spas, etc., wonderful pool experiences. And we're focused on that each and every day. But for me, the big focus is a service, making sure that our associates continue to know that they are empowered, to make sure that they make magical memories for our Montage guests, because at the end of the day, that's what they want. They want value for their money through service. And that's what's key. And my huge focus with our team is train, and retrain to make sure that the service is not just top notch, but really wow and memorable.
Right. And empowerment for empowerment's sake doesn't work. Empowerment with real information, with real resources, that's everything I'm sure you do. That's how you empower people. Saying, hey, you can do anything you want. Okay, what does that mean? Like, what are my resources? What are my first steps, second steps? Like training people on what that empowerment means. And what I always say to my team is empowerment means think. You're allowed to think. You're allowed to make decisions and think. Now, you're not going to make the same decision I would make. Maybe it'll cost me more money because you'll do something and be empowered that'll cost me more money. But once you think, you'll learn. And then that's how you become, that's how you become a superstar yourself. But if you're constantly being second guessed, it's a problem.
Right, and I'm here. I just yesterday had an amazing story from a guest. I'm here at obviously Virtuoso Travel Week in Vegas. It's an amazing week. But I had a guest come up to me yesterday that just stayed with us this past weekend, and she told me that she was at breakfast. She was talking to her children about that we're going to Disneyland for the day, and the server that served them had gone to our team, had the resources, got baseball caps for everyone, went to the chef, had it put together a little package for them, gave them snacks for their trip to Disney, to Anaheim. I mean, and she was just like, Mary, I can't even talk about it. I mean, she was so blown away because the server overheard her talking about going to Disney, and he made sure that the family had baseball caps and made sure that they had snacks for their journey. So I was just like, it's working. So focusing on that service is really, really the big thing that guests want. They want that value. They want the service.
And what does it take to do that? Because when you're staying in a hotel like yours, you have beautiful scents, you have beautiful beds, you have beautiful linen. But at the end of the day, a lot of your competition has that stuff. The difference is that waiter who's making that decision to do something that other hotel that's in your category probably wouldn't do.
Right. And to make sure that you have the resources, like you said, to think, okay, let me think. Where do I get the baseball caps? Where do I get the snacks? Let's go. Think.
Right. And they're not going to get a chef or a manager that's saying, what are you, crazy? That's coming out of my P&L.
Right.
Yeah, no,
so, Mary, I mean, that's a pretty amazing, but that includes a lot of training, right, in order to get people to that way. And Derek, who's reaching out today from Shenzhen, is wondering, have you found any benefits using online LMS, online training with quizzes, or is it only face-to-face training and leading by example? Maybe it's a mix. How do you see that?
That's a great question. Montage International has, when we started the company, Mr. Firstman believed so much in training, and that he placed learning as one of our values, one of our core values of the organization. And he continues to make sure that that is across the board in every one of our properties. We do and focus on, we have directors of learning or training at every one of our hotels. And we do and focus a lot on in-person or in the moment or departmental training or one-on-one training with everyone. This director of learning goes to every single lineup, we do it face to face. We do quizzes, obviously, and we do recertifications, but mostly in person. We have not found, we value the in-person touch and the training so much that we really focus on it and have, like I said, still have directors at every level to make sure that we're doing it. So we haven't necessarily gone onto the online platform, but certainly we very much do the in-person and focus on that as our core and key value.
Yeah, Glenn, if you want to kill the spirit of an engaged associate that's really excited to work at a premier property like Mary runs, put them in front of a computer for 6 hours the first day. For the first day, put them in front of a computer. And that's what a lot of the big brands do. I hear over and over from young people. I was like, why'd you leave? You were there like 6 weeks. They're like, because all I did was sit in front of the computer.
Right. And all the compliance training, obviously all the mandatory compliance training is all done, very quickly online, which is great. But I think if you're truly training service, you've got to do it one-on-one in person. There's so many ways to do it now, but certainly I think in person is the way forward. I agree with you, Anthony. Imagine teaching about wow service and you're learning from a computer. I think the in-person, if you can do it, is definitely the way to do it.
Yeah, I'm doing a training program now, and that we're going to launch. And when I was talking to Suzanne, who's our producer and also a PhD in hospitality who's helping me, I said, I want them to have live sessions with me. It's like, well, that's a lot of work. I said, then I'm not doing the program. If they can't get me live, then what the hell's the purpose of the program?
Oh, that's awesome, Anthony. Yeah, I couldn't agree more. In-person, live, face-to-face, hands-on it's key, and it works.
Oh, it definitely works. Because there's a nuance that you can see in the person's eye and say, hey, can I talk to you for a second? I see you didn't get that. Are you okay? Yeah, I'm okay, but I don't understand. And listen, I'm a slow learner. I was in resource room when I was growing up. We all learn differently. I'm a one-on-one learner. I don't learn with 30 people, and I don't learn on a computer by myself. I need that one-on-one attention. And, everybody learns differently.
And that's true because, you do pick up when you're doing training one-on-one or in groups or you do pick up on little different nuances with our associates that may need a little bit more time or may need a little bit more encouragement or may need retraining, or you see a lot of our attitudes and all that good stuff. So it definitely is the way to do it for the service element for sure.
Are you finding that people are losing the art of face-to-face contact because we're buried with our faces in the phone, particularly with younger people at all? Or are you just so self-selecting that you're not perhaps seeing that trend?
I mean, thankfully, I think when it comes to the day-to-day work and with our associates, I don't necessarily see that, but I think in general that's happening. Across the board. And I see that, and people have an automatic, if they're not doing anything or they're standing around, they have an automatic, to go to their phone. Exactly. But that's everywhere across the board.
I think the best example of that is when you're on a plane. When I was on a plane early on in my career, everybody was working. Everybody was reading something, doing a P&L, working. I would say, and I'm fortunate enough to get upgraded to be in business class, 90% of people in business class that you would think are working on a project because they're probably flying into a business meeting or working on something, they're usually either watching a movie on their phone or they're playing a video game on their phone.
I was going to say they're not doing work for The Office, they're watching The Office. Or at least that's what I do on Delta every week.
Me too. On a plane, I don't really work.
Mike, our friend of the show, Michael Stengel, who was on last week, who's actually consulting right now in the Gaylord San Diego, says, I say all the time, to Pendry in San Diego, the food and beverage activation is one of the big draws. I always get great service there. Proud of my friend Alan, Mr. Firstman, on what they created over there. So that's really nice coming from someone as esteemed as him.
Yes, good morning, Mr. Stengel. He's a wonderful professional and certainly a great friend of Montage International.
Yeah, the second he retired, Somehow we met in Georgia, I think, in Savannah at some resort, and he was working and he was introducing me to everybody. And I said, I thought you retired.
Great. He's a wonderful resource, and he helped. Now he's another example of somebody that truly, truly develops other leaders and brings them along, and really exposes leaders to, like you said, he'll introduce you to anyone. He'll make connections. Just a great hospitality
And
professional.
he's a nice person. At the end of the day, there's nice people. Like we use that word nice too much, but at the end of the day, you cannot have a long career and get to the top of any industry if you're not nice, because at the end of the day, people don't care about what you know. They just don't want friction. And if you're pleasant and easy to be around, then you can impart wisdom. But if you have friction and you're hard to be around, no one's going to ask you the question. And as a person that was very difficult to be around early in my career, I learned that lesson.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mary, before we wrap up today, I think that there's probably a lot of people out there that want to actively engage that next generation, help bring them along, but maybe they're so busy or they don't know where to start. What are some things that they could do to take those first steps to help others find success within the hospitality industry in their hotels?
I mean, you're 100% right. It takes time. So what I do at
Hmm.
my hotel is twice a month, I set up individual lunches. I call them seaside chats. We do it right in front of the ocean with our
Nice.
associates. And you spend time with them. I spend an hour and a half, and I ask them all about themselves. I ask them about their goals. I ask them what their next steps are. It takes time. You have to invest with your time in meeting with your associates to find out
Hmm.
how you can engage them, what the next steps are for them. And it really, really works. It allows you to get to know the people that work with every day, and it also allows you to identify those that want to be brought along and those that want to stay in the jobs that they have. You have to take the time and the investment to do it. I do the luncheon with them twice a month, and it's been amazing. I started that when I joined Montage Laguna Beach, and it's been a tremendous success. And it's allowed me to get to know my team, but also to figure out who wants to be promoted, who wants the next job, they want to move careers, they want to move in departments. It's
Hmm.
a
But
power.
just,
It's a
but just
powerful
as
tool.
important, but just as important for you to know them, they get to know you, and you'll say something as almost a throwaway comment that they'll hold on to for their whole careers. Like, remember when how many people have come to you over the years and said, remember when you said this to me? And you'd be like, yeah, you don't remember it. And they held on to it. We had that incident yesterday. I was with Glenn, and a gentleman I used to work with came over to me
It was
and
amazing.
said, you remember when you said this to me? That changed the course of my career. And I
This is
was
like
like,
decades ago. Yeah,
what's
he
that?
said this. It was like decades ago you said this to him.
Right.
Yeah.
And he goes, I use it every day. And it was something where it's like, don't come into my office. It was very gentle, but it was like, don't come into my office and give me a problem because I ain't that smart. Give me a solution. And it was something along those lines. And he just said that changed the way he goes about his business. So
As
you
a
never know.
trustee, you never know.
You
You
just never
never.
know how you influence people.
I know, Mary. Thank you so much for being
Thank
here.
you.
Before you go, give a good shout out for your hotels, please.
Yes, absolutely. Montage at Laguna Beach, our beautiful hotel on the ocean, on the coast in Southern California. Come join us anytime. And our gorgeous Montage in Healdsburg in Sonoma's wine country, and our fantastic Pendry in San Diego in the heart of the Gaslamp District. Come
Hey,
join us.
Mary, guess where I'm going to be? I might be next Tuesday. I might be in Laguna Beach for literally one night.
No
No way.
way.
Are you going to come stay with us?
I don't know.
You have to. You will. If you're in Laguna Beach next week, come stay with us. I'd love to have you.
All right, do me a
so
favor. We're gonna say goodbye to you. Stay backstage after we wrap up the show. We'll talk a little bit more about
Gentlemen,
that.
thank you for having me. I can't believe our
Thank you.
time is over. This has been exceptional. Thank you.
Yeah, this has been amazing. Thank you, Mary. And I want to thank everybody for watching. Now, listen, you watch this interview, but you're going to want to get reinforced. So why not listen to it on Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, SoundCloud, wherever you get your podcasts. We are there. Of course, he's at Anthony Hotels. I'm traveling Glenn. That was a fun interview, right, Anthony?
remember when we had the conversation and I
Yeah.
said, of all the general managers you meet, there's a difference
Mm-hmm.
on certain people that we know. And I threw some names out there. Remember,
Yep.
we had that
Mhm.
conversation.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, I don't remember what you asked me. I was like, listen, there's levels to this game. And Mary is at that level. Like, she's a different level. And you can meet 100 general managers, and there's few and far between at that level that they just
That's right.
get it, man. I can't even understand how you go about it, but there's levels to this game, man.
There certainly is. And what was great is we've met so many amazing professionals. And when we were talking and having that conversation and naming them, I mean, they were all absolute superstars. All right, everybody. Thanks so much for being here. Remember, you've got one life, so blaze on and
be kind to yourself.
see you all later. All right.
And be kind to Glenn.